Number one, I should be recording it. And number two, you should be able to hear the sound. All right. Condition is active time travel is going to create time travel paradoxes. So in order to overcome the paradoxes, you need to have parallel universes or alternate histories. That's what it means. All right. So we're still here. So which means that the future, the past, the present all need to happen at the same time. So that's Einstein's universe. It's known as a block universe. So can you do time travel in a block universe if the past, the future, the present all happen at the same time? What do you guys think?
Yes.
How? All right, so what happens to your free will in this block universe, given the fact that the past, the future, and the present are already predetermined as facts? Can you do time travel in this universe? Do you have any free will in this universe? So can you change the past in this universe? Absolutely not. Can you change the present in this universe? Absolutely not. Can you change the future in this universe? Absolutely not. Everything is embedded in this fabrics of space-time continuum in this universe. There's nothing you can do to change anything in this universe. That's what it means. All right, so
you're saying,
go ahead.
So if you're saying if things are like already predestinated, like there's nothing we could, if we were to time travel, there's nothing we could do to alterate what happened because it already happened or it's already happening, right?
That's exactly correct. Which means that in this universe, destiny rules, right? Everything has been predetermined. Everything has been encoded into the fabric of the space-time continuum. So basically, we're here just for the experience. It's like a movie, except instead of watching it, you're in it. You're in it. You're experiencing. It's nothing more than that. It's like a video game.
To the formation of stars in the Milky Way galaxy, to the creation of Earth.
This is a block universe. Notice that you got an entire block. It's got the entire history of the universe in it.
4.5 billion years
like a DVD, 4-dimensional
ago, to
like a 4-dimensional DVD.
The time of the dinosaurs, to events happening on Earth today, like me working in my office, thinking about space-time like this.
We experience things in the present, but everything that we're experiencing, according to the block universe theory, has been embedded within the fabric of space-time continuum. 14 billion years ago, guys, at the creation of the universe.
Yes.
So what you're experiencing is as old as the universe.
Led Einstein to overturn our everyday picture of past, present, and future.
At the same time, if we're spread out far enough.
There now slices the direction.
There's just as much reality to the future and the past as there is to the present moment.
The past is not gone, and the future isn't non-existent. Past, the future, and the present are all existing in exactly the same way.
Just as we think of all of space as being out there, we should think of all of time as being out there too. Everything that has ever happened or will happen, it all exists.
Which means anything and everything which has happened, happening, and will happen has already happened. Encoded within this space-time continuum.
From Leonardo da Vinci laying the final brushstroke on the...
So, given the fact that you cannot even change the present, can you even do time travel in this universe? Where free will is an illusion. No, guys, unless it's encoded within this space-time continuum, no such thing is possible.
The Mona Lisa, to the signing of the Declaration of Independence, to your first day at school, to events that...
So this is Einstein's universe. Einstein's universe is making time continuum possible. So that's the first condition of time travel, which means that the future, the past, the present all need to happen at the same time. But at the same time, it's giving you a static universe where you cannot change anything. You cannot do time travel in this universe. There's nothing that you can do. You cannot change the present. You cannot change the past. You cannot change the future. And then time travel becomes an impossibility. This is the universe where destiny rules. So destiny is what rules. So which means that your free will in this universe becomes an illusion. All right, so the next question is there any validity to Einstein's view of the universe? Is free will an illusion, or is this just something completely made up from Einstein's theory of gravity? All right, so here's what the biologists say.
Put your hand in front of you and flex your wrist. You presumably first had a thought. Flex my wrist. That then caused your wrist to move. That's how it seems. But Benjamin Libet's experiments in the 1980s have cast some doubt on that. In his neuroscience lab, he wired up subjects to an EEG machine measuring brain activity via electrodes on their scalps and asked them to choose to perform a simple hand movement when they felt like it. He also got them to record the time at which they made a conscious decision to move their hands. Disconcertingly, he found evidence of brain activity initiating the movement hundreds of milliseconds before the conscious decision was reported. In other words, his experiments seemed to show that the conscious decision didn't cause the movement. The brain activity bringing about movement started before the individual willed anything to happen. Some people think this is proof that free will is an illusion, that our conscious decisions are more like reports on what is already happening than the causes of our action. Libet didn't go that far. He thought that we might not have free will, but there's still time for what some have called free won't, a conscious veto of an action that is started in the brain. Others are more skeptical about the implications of these experiments. They They point out difficulties of recording the time of a subjective decision to move, and question whether Libet's findings could apply to more complex conscious decisions based on reasons, such as the decision to reject the claim that Libet's experiments undermine our idea of free will.
All right, so do we have free will? This is something which is a question which is still under study by neuroscientists. It appears that we don't have much free will to go on.
So somewhere in all of this, studying the biology of behavior, somewhere
And this guy is one of the leading researchers in that field.
in there, when you're
He's from Berkeley.
realizing activity levels in this part of the brain 1 second before this act, what you had for breakfast, all the way back to like what culture your ancestors evolved to evolutionary, all of these are influencing your behavior. Most of these variables we're not even aware of. They're subliminal. We never would have expected it. Inevitably, somewhere in there, you got to sit down and start having the free will discussion. So is there any free will in there? And the polite thing that I've sort of said for decades is that, well, if there's free will, it's in all the boring places, and those places are getting more and more cramped. If you want to insist that today you decided to floss your teeth starting on your upper teeth rather than your lower teeth, rather than the other way around, that was an act of free will, whatever, I'll grant that one to you. That's where the free will is. In reality, I don't think there's any free will at all. If you look at the things that come into account as to whether or not someone is going to do the right thing in the next 2 seconds amid a temptation to do otherwise, and the variables in there reflect everything from whether they are having gas pains that day because of something unpleasant they ate that morning, that makes us more selfish, more impulsive, etc., to what epigenetic effects occurred to them than when they were a first trimester fetus. When you look at the number of things we recognize now that are biological, organic, where 500 years ago or 5 years ago, we would have had a harsh moral judgment about it, and instead we now know, oh, that's a biological phenomenon. When we look at that, either we can say the last 500 years of realizing all of this biology is going to stop right here, and there's never going to be a new piece of knowledge in that area. Yeah, there's areas of behavior we still can't explain biologically. But if all you can do is see the logical direction we're going with that, is what we're going to get to the point is recognizing, yeah, we're biological organisms. This notion of free will, for want of a less provocative word, is nothing but a myth. What's going to be really challenging, though, is figure out how you structure a society that actually runs humanely, built around the notion that we are merely biological organisms. And that one, I haven't a clue. If someone tells me, you know, oh, nice shirt you're wearing today, and I say, oh, gee, thanks, I've just shown that on some fundamental level, I have trouble accepting there's no such thing as free will. No, actually, I picked the shirt today because the culture I come from has these values, and my visual, cone receptors told me that this shirt matches with this. And you still have a reflex to attribute some sort of free will in sort of tiny little domains. If that's going to prove horrible and too difficult to overcome, that's fine. Where we need to do the heavy lifting is when we're making judgments about volition in areas where we harshly judge people. There we really have to do the hard work of thinking through that there's not a lot of free will going on there.
Wow, that was a long explanation. All right, so this guy is a researcher, and obviously he does truly believe in what he's talking about. He's from Berkeley. Except we got a problem, guys. In this universe, we cannot do time travel. It's kind of out of the question. All right, so if we are living in Einstein's universe, where the future, the past, the present all happen at the same time, and where destiny rules and where there's no free will, obviously you cannot do time travel. But can you sense the future? Is it possible? If the future, the past, the present all happen at the same time, can you sense the future? I'm talking about the psychic phenomena. How many of you guys had a psychic experience? Anybody?
I've been to a psychic.
Okay, so Jen, tell me about your experience. So you went to your psychic and then you got some predictions, right? Did they come?
Yeah. No, none
Okay,
of them.
so in your case, it didn't work out. So that was a learning experience, right? Give yourself 5 points. All right. Anybody else? Anybody else? All right. So just about every single person that I've dated in my life, they believe in psychics, right? And I still remember one of the girls. She said, hey, "Let's go see a psychic," and I had been seeing her for about 2 years at the time, and the relationship wasn't working out. I mean, you didn't have to see a psychic to know that this thing wasn't going to work out. All right. It's like things start to stink. It's kind of a milk. Once you pass the expiration date, that's where we're at. I said, no, I'm not interested in seeing a psychic. She said, why not? I said, I don't believe in him. She said, no, truly, what's the main reason? I said, because I don't want to pay for it. She said, well, I'll pay for it. I said, great, so let's go. All right, so this is a tarot card reading. All right, I've never seen a tarot card reading before. So she asks you to have a thought, and then she asks you to split the cards into 3 parts, and then she opens up the cards and she starts giving you a reading. So my girlfriend at the time, she's the one who went first. And then, man, the reading was horrible. So the psychic is talking to her and telling her all the bad things about me. And I'm just sitting there, wow, this relationship is not going to work out. This person is trustworthy. This person is going to do this. This person is going to do that. So I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, wow, that's a fairly accurate description of who I am. And I'm checking to see if I've actually dated that girl before. So blah, 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 blah. So 10, 15 minutes later, she started to make it worse and worse and worse. I'm thinking, no, I'm not that person. Everything after that point, maybe, but not that person. And then it's my turn. All right, so my question was about graduate school, because I just finished up my Bachelor of Science degree in physics, applied to a bunch of graduate schools, and I didn't gain any admissions to any of the grad school. My grade average was about 3.1. In physics is phenomenal. I was the second best student in my graduating class, except the graduate schools require 3.5. And so I didn't have what they were looking for. So I applied to a bunch of schools. I got all rejections. So I decided that I should probably go back and finish up my master's in electrical engineering first, and then go back again and try to get back into physics. And so that's exactly what I was doing. So I decided that I was not going to apply to any of the grad schools. So that's where we were at. So this woman is doing our reading, and all of a sudden she goes, well, you're going to go back to physics within a month, and you're going to start your PhD work in physics. As soon as she said that, it put a huge smile on my face, grin. All right. I was delighted. Because I knew she was lying at that point. I finally caught her. I'm thinking, no, I'm not going to go to grad school. I'm not going to start my PhD in physics, not within a month. It's not going to happen, because of the simple reason that I did not apply to any of the grad schools that year. All right. It's like winning the lottery. For you to be able to win, you need to purchase a ticket first. There's no such thing as winning a lottery unless you purchase the ticket. Because I didn't apply, I was not going to get in. That's it. So on the way back, there was a huge fight. My girlfriend at the time decided to accuse me of the things that I was yet to do in the future. And that's why we didn't talk to each other for a few days. It was nasty. It was nasty. She believed in the psychic. I did not. Anyway, so about a month later, the phone rings, and I checked the caller ID. It said ODU. I didn't know what ODU was, so I answered the phone. On the other hand, there was this lady with a really thick Southern accent. She said, "This is Virginia calling from Virginia." I thought that was kind of a practical joke or something. I said, "Excuse me." And so she explained herself. She said, "Hey, my name is Virginia. I'm calling from Virginia. Calling from the physics department of Old Dominion University." Never heard of it. And she wanted to know whether or not I would be interested in being a graduate student there for their PhD program. And my first question was, how'd you get my number? How'd you know? Evidently, I ended up sending a letter of request about a year before. And they sent me a letter back asking me what classes I took in physics, mathematics, as well as engineering, and what grades I received, and which books we were using. And that's it. And never heard back from them. Never. Evidently, they weren't interested. I mean, they were so disinterested that they did not even honor me with an application. It was that bad. Except things had turned around, evidently. So the school was starting the following week. They awarded a bunch of scholarships and assistantships and the research assistantship to a bunch of people. And in the last minute, about 5 or 6 students declined. And all of a sudden, they had an opening for 6 students. So they went back to their rejection pile. And on top of the rejection pile, it was my name. So they decided to go through those people. So immediately, I jumped on the opportunity. I said, absolutely, I'm going to be there the next week. It was stunning. It was stunning. Because it was to the day, about a month later, after seeing the psychic. It was weird. And that woman didn't know anything about me. It was the weirdest thing. And by the way, that relationship didn't work out precisely the reasons that she specified. So that's 100% accurate predictions right there. All right. So I was just curious. So I had seen a number of other psychics since then. None of them were that accurate. The first experience, that was weird. I mean, I cannot even imagine how something like this could be that spooky. All right. So if that experience, if she had that kind of a skill, and I'm not sure if she got lucky or if she had that kind of a skill. Okay. So that implies that not only the future is happening, but also there are people who can sense it. That's a bizarre phenomenon right there.